Namaskar. In physical geography, we have to learn about the Earth's lithosphere. So, in this module, we are going to see the Earth's lithosphere. Earth's environmental segments include atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere and biosphere. Lithosphere is the basic solid sphere of the planet Earth. It is the sphere of hard rock masses. The land we live in is on this lithosphere only. All other spheres are attached to this lithosphere due to Earth's gravity. Lithosphere is a massive and hard solid substratum holding the semi-solid, liquid, biotic and gaseous molecules and masses surrounding it. All geomorphic processes happen on this sphere only. It is the sphere where all natural resources are existing. It links the cyclic processes of atmosphere, hydrosphere and biosphere. Lithosphere also act as the basic route for all the biogeochemical activities. For all geographic studies, a basic understanding of the lithosphere is needed. Hence, in this lesson, the following aspects are included: the Earth's interior, the lithospheric plates, the plate tectonics, the Earth's internal processes and the magma and its emplacements. Let us see the first part of the Earth's interior. The Earth's lithosphere is composed of three major solid layers as outermost crust, middle mantle and the central core. The crust is the outermost layer of the Earth on which all living organisms survive. This is a very thin layer. It is ranging from 5 kilometers under the oceans to 100 kilometers under the mountainous areas of continents. Usually, it is about 40 kilometers in thickness under the flat continents. The crust is made up of many types of rocks and thousands of minerals. These rocks and minerals are made from just 8 elements as the oxygen, silicon, aluminum, iron, calcium, sodium, potassium and magnesium. The rocks present in the Earth's crust are solid, rigid and brittle in nature. They are also highly variable, including rocks of molten origin, rocks of sedimentary origin and rocks that have undergone all sorts of structural and chemical alterations through metamorphism. The crust itself can be divided into two sublayers. One kind of layer is found everywhere under the oceans and also below the continents. This is called as the oceanic crust. This layer is dominated by relatively heavy, dark, dense rocks of mafic composition. Most of these mafic rocks are of volcanic in origin and are called as basaltic. This dense heavy mafic layer is sometimes called as sima, denoting its chemistry as silica and magnesium. It tends to be relatively thin, usually from about 5 to 12 kilometers in thickness. A second layer is normally found in the continents. It is made up of light colored rocks. These rocks are primarily composed of silicates enriched in higher elements such as aluminum, potassium and sodium. Hence, this layer is called as sial, as it is dominated by silicate rocks with lighter elements mixed with aluminum. Sial means silica and aluminum. These rocks are granitic masses and hence this layer is called as the granitic layer. This is considerably thicker, around 40 kilometers than the basaltic layer. Below this crust, the Earth's solid constituents have shown a transition. The density of the mass is very high and very rigid. The seismic soundings have identified a discontinuity between the crust and this layer. This is the mantle layer of the Earth. There is a sharp increase in the velocity of seismic waves as they pass into this layer of differing density and rigidity. The Mohorovičić discontinuity marks the transition from the bottom of the crust to the top of this mantle layer. Andrija Mohorovičić first noticed this effect in the year 1909. He found that some of the earthquake waves near the surface moved slower than the earthquake waves that passed through the interior of the Earth. He also noticed that the P waves that passed through the interior of the earth did not move in a straight line. These waves were bent and deflected by something. He decided that the outside layer of the crust was made up of less dense material than the next layer, which is called as the mantle, which is a denser layer. The mantle was much denser. Waves of all other kinds move faster and straighter through this denser, more solid layer. Based on this observation, the nature of the mantle was identified. Let us see the characteristics of the earth's mantle. The middle mantle layer makes up the largest volume of the earth's interior. It is almost 2900 kilometers thick and comprises of about 83% of the earth's volume. It is divided into two layers as upper mantle and lower mantle. The upper mantle is about 670 kilometers in depth. It is brittle and less dense. It is made up of peridotites. These are rocks made up of olivine and pyroxene minerals. These are largely silicate minerals and the rocks are basic in character. These rocks are highly enriched with iron and magnesium, and hence they are called as ultramafic rocks. These ultramafic rocks are dark in color due to the presence of iron and magnesium. These rocks are extremely heavy and dense compared with the typical surface rocks. The rocks in the upper mantle are more rigid and brittle because of cooler temperatures and lower pressures. The lower mantle is much thicker and denser. It is 670 to 2900 kilometers below the earth's surface. This layer is hot and plastic. The higher pressure existing in this layer causes the formation of minerals that are different from those of the upper mantle. The mantle varies in its state of matter. It is soft and in nearly liquid condition near its inner boundary with the liquid outer core and again near the top a few kilometers under the earth's crust. In other areas it may show nearly brittle condition and solidity. The next layer followed by this layer is the earth's core. The earth's central core contains two different layers as outer core and inner core. The outer core is a hot liquid layer and the inner core is a hot and solid layer. Bino Gutenberg discovered the boundary as a discontinuity between the mantle and the outer core. This boundary was named after him as Gutenberg discontinuity. The outer core is about 2890 to 5150 kilometers below the earth's surface. The temperature in the outer core is about 4000 to 5000 degrees Celsius. The molten liquid iron in the outer core is the important element present because it helps to create the earth's magnetic field. The outer core is about 2250 kilometers in thickness. The outer core is known to exist in a liquid state because of the behavior of earthquake waves, particularly the shear body waves or secondary waves have passed through this. Liquid cannot respond to shear forces, so it cannot transmit shear waves. As a result, there is a seismic shadow on the side of the earth antipodal to an earthquake's epicenter. The last one is the solid inner core. The inner core is 5150 to 6370 kilometers below the earth's surface. It may consist of iron, nickel and some lighter elements, probably sulfur, carbon, oxygen, silicon and potassium. The temperature in the inner core is about 5000 to 6000 degrees Celsius. Because of the high pressure, the inner core is solid. The solidity of the inner core is due to the presence of iron and nickel. The core is incredibly hot in the center and the pressure is so great that the melting point of iron and nickel is elevated far beyond those high temperatures, leaving the nickel ion as solid. Let us see the characteristic features of the lithospheric plates. The lithosphere is broken up into tectonic plates. There are currently 7 or 8 major and many minor plates. The lithospheric plates ride on the asthenosphere. These plates move in relation to one another at one of the three types of plate boundaries as convergent plate boundary, divergent plate boundary and the conservative transform boundary. Plate size can vary greatly from a few hundred to thousands of kilometers across. The Pacific and Antarctic plates are among the largest plates seen so far. Plate thickness also varies greatly, ranging from less than 15 kilometers for the young oceanic lithosphere to about 200 kilometers or more for the ancient continental lithosphere. Tectonic plates probably got developed in the earlier period of the Earth's 4.6 billion year old history. They have been drifting on the surface ever since, like slow moving bumper cars, repeatedly clustering together and then separating each other. The movement of plates has caused the formation and breakup of continents over time, including the occasional formation of a supercontinent that contains most or all of the continents today. The supercontinent Columbia or Nuna was formed during a period of 2.0 to 1.8 billion years. It got broken up into pieces about 1.5 to 1.3 billion years ago. The supercontinent Rodinia is thought to have formed about 1 billion years ago and to have embodied most of all the Earth's continents. It also got broken up into 8 continents around 600 million years ago. The 8 continents later reassembled into another supercontinent called as Pangaea. This Pangaea also got broken into 2 units as Laurasia, which became North America and Eurasia, and Gondwana, which became the remaining continents later. The major plates of the Earth are called as primary plates. The notable primary plates of the Earth lithosphere are the African plate, the Antarctic plate, the Indo-Australian plate, sometimes it is divided into Indian plate and Australian plate, the Eurasian plate, the North American plate, the South American plate, and the Pacific plate. The notable minor plates are called as secondary plates. The following are the secondary plates: Arabian plate, Caribbean plate, Juan de Fuca plate, Cocos plate, Nazca plate, Philippine Sea plate, and the Scotia plate. There are also some tertiary plates which are included with the major plate families. The African plate encompasses Madagascar plate, Nubian plate, Seychelles plate, and the Somali plate. The Antarctic plate, including Kerguelen microcontinent, Shetland plate, and South Sandwich plate. The Caribbean plate include Panama plate and the Gonovi microplate. The Cocos plate includes the Rivera plate. The Eurasian plate include Adriatic or Apulian plate, Aegean Sea plate, Amurian plate, Anatolian plate, Banda Sea plate, Burma plate, Iberian plate, Iranian plate, Molucca Sea plate, Halmahera plate, Sangi plate, Okinawa plate, Pelso plate, Sunda plate, Timor plate, Tizza plate, and the Yongzhou plate. The Indo-Australian plate includes Australian plate, Capricorn plate, Futuna plate, Indian plate, Kermadec plate, Maoke plate, Niuafu plate, Sri Lanka plate, Tonga plate, and the Woodlark plate. The Juan de Fuca plate include Explorer plate and the Goda plates. The North American plate includes the Greenland plate and the Okhotsk plate. The Pacific plate includes Balmoral Reef plate, Bird's Head plate, Caroline plate, Conway Reef plate, Easter plate, Galapagos plate, Juan Fernandez plate, Kula plate, Manus plate, New Hebrides plate, North Bismarck's plate, North Galapagos microplate, Solomon Sea plate, and South Bismarck plate. The Philippine Sea plate includes Mariana plate and the Philippine microplate. The South American plate includes the Altiplano plate, Falkland microplate, and the North Andes plates. Let us see the concept of plate tectonics. The theory of plate tectonics is the most important advancement in earth sciences in the 20th century. It provides the framework for all understanding of the earth's processes that are happening today and also which have happened in the past. In 1915, the scientist Alfred Wegener noticed while working near the North Pole that his compass needle did not point to north, which it should have been. In other words, true north and magnetic north were in two separate localities. Wegener conceptualized that the poles of the earth, both the north and south poles, were wandering with time. He called this as polar wandering. Subsequently to this, his first observation, he began also to notice how continents fit together with a zigzag puzzle, most fittingly the western coast of Africa and the eastern coast of South America. In addition, rocks of these localities were also of the same type, same age and containing same type of fossils. So, Wegener revised his theory and called it as continental drift due to the idea that it was not the poles that got shifted, but the continents themselves have got movement and moved apart. Alfred Wegener died of a heart attack on a voyage while studying the glaciers near the North Pole in the early years of 1930, and his work was virtually forgotten. After the World War II, echo sounding technology was developed. It provided the opportunities to carry out stunning discoveries by a geologist and seaboat commander Henry Hess. He noticed that rocks on either side of a prominent geologic feature in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean were a perfect mirror image of each other on either side of the rift zone. This was called as the mid-ocean rift zone. He found that the rift zone was oozing out magmatic material from the submarine volcanoes, and that the material got spread laterally across either side of the rift. As time progressed, Hess took more and more samples to back up his findings. He did it as a part of a series of drill voyages aboard using the research vessel Glomar Challenger. Later in the 1960s, Frederick Wien and Drummond Matthews, a professor and student team, discovered the principles of magnetic patterns on the ocean floors. They published their findings in the journal first and then delivered lectures at Scripps Oceanographic Institute. Further findings revealed that not only did the strips have the same age of rocks, but a magnetic polarity image resulted in addition to it. This has shown that during the earth history, there have been several magnetic reversals occurred in which the compass needle have pointed towards south instead of north in several places. In the late 1960s and the early 1970s, two scientists revisited Alfred Wegener's findings. They combined the observations along with Hess's discoveries to formulate a new package called as plate tectonics. Robert Palmer and Donald Mackenzie are credited with naming and synthesizing all these concepts into one common theory of the theory of plate tectonics. Alfred Wegener was referred to as the father of plate tectonics. The plate motion is driven by one or more of the following mechanisms. One is the convection, where the heat is transferred by movement of a fluid, that is magma. The second one is the conduction, where the heat is transferred by touching plates, and the third one is the push-pull slab. The heavy slabs pull plates downward and magma forced upward pushes plates to the surface, which is called upwelling. All these three processes are happening even today. There are several geological processes that occur where plates meet each other. They are called as plate boundaries or margins. The notable processes are: volcanoes tend to erupt at plate margins as a result of a process called subduction. Earthquakes occur where plates grind against each other. Mountain building occurs as one plate is pushed over another plate, and the sea floor spreading occurs where two oceanic plates pull apart each other. Let us see the fourth aspect of the earth's internal processes. Earth's internal processes are controlled by the geothermal energy of the Earth's interior and the plate movements. Innumerable number of other tectonic processes also happen in association with the plate movements. The convergent plate movement is associated with the following processes: compression, reverse faulting, creation of a subduction zone, and mountain building processes. Three modes of collisions of plates occur in the earth. One is the continent versus continent collision, another one is the continent versus oceanic plate collision, the third one is the oceanic plate versus oceanic plate collision. The divergent plate boundaries are associated with the following activities: tension or extension, where things are pulled apart, normal faulting, rifting as seen in the mid ocean rift zone, then creation of magmatic material inside the rift zone. The transform plate boundaries are associated with the following processes: horizontal grinding motion, strike slip faulting, lateral offset of rock units. Both continental and oceanic origin volcanic zones are associated with plate tectonics. The seismic zones are also associated with plate tectonics. So, they exist in three zones as the subducting oceanic plate, where shallow focus earthquakes occur as the plate subducts, then the intermediate focus earthquake zone, where partial melting and rising of magma happens in the Benioff zone, and the third one is the deep focus earthquake zones, as slab of crust is pulled by shear gravity waves. The following are the features and landforms associated with plate tectonics. Subduction zone, in this the continent versus oceanic collision zone containing deep sea trenches, volcanic arcs and andesitic volcanic rocks are formed. In the divergent zone, mainly the oceanic divergent zone, basaltic magma spreads across and they are called as spreading centers. In the ocean versus ocean collision zone, we get the deep sea trenches, volcanic island arcs and the basaltic volcanic rocks. In the continent versus continent collision zones, we get granitic rocks and it is induced for mountain building processes, and no volcanism or no magmatic activity can be seen in such places. The fifth aspect is related to the magma and its emplacement in lithosphere. Emplacement of magma from the Earth's interior is another effect. Magma is a fully or partially molten rocky mass of the Earth's interior. It is usually consisting of silicate liquid. Magma migrates either at depth or to the Earth's surface, where it is ejected as a lava. A magma is characterized by the interactions of several physical properties. These properties include the chemical composition, viscosity, content of dissolved gases and the temperature of the molten mass. The properties of the magma are temperature, density, viscosity, gas content, abundance and the chemical composition, which includes major and minor elements. Magma gets solidified and form the igneous rocks. This process is called as crystallization process. Because oxygen and silicon are the two most abundant elements in magma, it is convenient to describe the different magma types in terms of their silica content. There are three types of magma identified as mafic magma, felsic magma and intermediate magma. Mafic magma will cool and crystallize to produce the volcanic rocks basalts. The felsic magma are characterized by relatively high silica and low iron and magnesium contents. The felsic magma will crystallize to produce dacites and rhyolite rocks. The intermediate composition magmas will crystallize to produce the rock anticides. Because the mafic rocks are enriched in iron and magnesium, they tend to be darker in color than the felsic rock types, which are lighter in color. If we look at the evolution of magma, there are two stages of development as primary melts and parental melts. Primary melts are derived from the mantle, others are derived from the bodies developed from primary melts. It is very difficult to fully understand the scientific mysteries behind many of these internal processes of the earth. Magma is the source of all igneous rocks. Emplacement of magma could be seen from the present day volcanic eruptions. A magma has enormous thermal and chemical energy. The magmatic melt is less dense than its surrounding rock, and hence it is propelled upward through the lithospheric layers. Not all the magma reaches the surface. Some may intrude and gets solidified well below the surface of the earth. On an average, 60 out of the 550 historically active volcanoes are in the eruption process every year. The rate of increase in temperature of the earth's interior is known as geothermal gradient. The geothermal gradient is the rate of increasing temperature with respect to increasing depth in the earth's interior. It varies considerably from place to place. Away from tectonic plate boundaries, it is 25 to 30 degrees centigrade per kilometer of depth. Away from active volcanic centers, the average gradient is nearly 30 degrees per kilometers. If this downward rate of increase in temperature continued uniformly, the temperature at which basaltic rocks would melt at 1050 degrees Celsius at a depth of about 35 kilometers. It is also controlled by the internal thermal conductivity of the rock masses. There is also a heat flow generated by the radioactive elements in various rock types. The major heat producing isotopes in the earth's interior are potassium 40, uranium 238, uranium 235 and thorium 232. The heat flows constantly from its sources within the earth to the surfaces. Heat from the earth's interior can also be used as a source of energy, and energy production from these sources can be called as geothermal energy. The earth's lithosphere has got a lot of mysterious processes, geochemical processes, never ending cyclic processes and many natural resources which are helpful for our survival. Let us see some more details of the earth's interior in the forthcoming module.